Oh 07 everybody, and welcome aboard. Today, we're taking a look at Dual Universe, a new space MMO from French developer Novaquark. It's currently in an open beta that is acting as a soft launch for the main game, and as such, there's no planned resets at this point for the main game except a refresh on mineable resource nodes. But first off, what is Dual Universe? As mentioned, it's an MMO, with all players inhabiting a single universe. With crafting reminiscent of Minecraft, space engineers and Empyrean, a skill system and market like in EVE, space combat and PvP, corporations, factory building, exploration, and more, there's a lot going on here. I've been playing now for a few weeks, and I'm just really getting started to get a grasp on everything that's on offer here. I'm going to try and break down each of the major themes and give you my thoughts on it. And if you find this video helpful, there's a referral link below. But let's get started. Crafting is a major part of this game. Most people start out on Sanctuary, a moon orbiting Alioth that is a strict no PvP zone. Everyone can claim an individual hex parcel of land, and you're free to do with it what you will. No one can build on your hex or even vacuum up any of the surface nodes of materials, or skittles as I call them. While nice and safe, it's a bit of a boring moon, and resources are very limited, as you can't gather beyond your own hex. So, if you get one or two big underground deposits of materials, great, but once it's mined out, you're going to be back to surface mining, and you probably need to head to another planet. Continuing on with crafting, one of the main building features in DU is the voxel system. For those that are familiar with games like Minecraft, you know what I'm probably talking about already. If you're not, a voxel is kind of a cube of material that you can be used or combined with other shapes to make interesting objects. The voxel tool itself is very powerful and has some interesting applications, but some pretty drastic limitations as well. Players that get really into voxelmancy can come up with some really cool stuff. For someone new to the style of gameplay like myself, it can be quite a challenge, but the community for DU has been fantastic and is generally extremely helpful and generous with their time and instructions. And let me be clear, this is a complex game, but it can be extremely fun and rewarding for those that want to put in the effort. With flight mechanics that are physics-based, kind of a Kerbal-light space program with thrust, braking, atmospheric resistance, fuel consumption, roll and turn rates, weight, lift, and more, all being calculating factors, getting out of atmosphere and returning without crashing can be quite a challenge, but one I'm enjoying a lot. Creating or crafting ships or other objects utilize a crafting system with a lot of pre-made options, like space or atmospheric engines, landing gear, cockpits, furniture pieces, wings, fuel tanks, and a ton more. To unify all of these pieces into a more pleasing shape is where the voxels come in. Creating a honeycomb, as it's called, can change the shape, texture, and physical characteristics and colors of the objects you're creating. Shaping and manipulating the honeycomb to get the desired result is where the voxelmancy comes in. For those not interested in that kind of challenge, you can also trade or buy blueprints from other player designers. And one of the most popular things to do is recreate ships from recognizable properties. To date, I've seen Star Wars, Star Trek, Star Citizen, Babylon 5, Spaceballs, Battlestar Galactica, and Elite Dangerous, and Thomas the Tank Engine. To make all the parts needed to build your spacecraft or your factories or bases, you're going to need to set up some industry. What starts out as a modest workshop with a half dozen machines can quickly balloon up to multiple hex-spanning industrial zones, complete with logistics hubs, ports, and more, even some space elevators. Corporations that get moving and get organized can get some truly remarkable setups. But apart from building ships, what can you do with such massive manufacturing potential? Well, you can make some money. Dual Universe has a player-based economy where people can buy and sell with each other via the market terminals. Each terminal represents a discrete geographic location, so if you buy a large container from someone at, say, District 7, you actually have to fly over there to retrieve it. This could lead to some interesting logistical challenges, as players in further flung locales find it harder to source materials, which drives higher prices, which creates new opportunities for entrepreneurs, which means etc., etc., etc. In the end, a galactic economic ballet of supply and demand leaves opportunity for material enrichment. In general, the more complex the object you're trying to build, the more pieces and higher tier materials may be required. You can make most basic objects with tier 1 to 2 materials that you find in and around the safe zones, but to get the higher performing or larger, more complex pieces, you'll have to venture out to the other planets or moons in the system. Now, I haven't myself gotten to this stage of the game yet, but it's pretty much a matter of time. Ship-based PvP is currently in the game outside of the safe zones, and first-person and atmospheric PvP is on the way. Don't forget that if your ship crashes or is shot down, a destroyed core can be salvaged by anyone, so be prepared. What's a core, you might ask? Well, the core is the heart of the object, either a ship or a building, static or dynamic, that you are working on. If a core is destroyed, somebody repairing that core takes over that object. Now, the skill tree. This has largely been brought over, or at least inspired by EVE Online, with real time being invested in skill points. Luckily, this timer keeps ticking when you're offline, so you don't need to be logged in all the time to maximize your skill points. Skills are passive benefit perks based around tiers and categories for things like mining, refinery efficiency, fuel consumption, number of active building cores, jump height, and even boost to engine placements and performances, and a whole lot more. The important thing here is to start training as soon as you're able. Even if you end up changing your skills around later, the invested points will stay there, and it's always good to be having your points ticking up. I mentioned organizations a bit ago, and they're a big part of this game. You can achieve some truly astounding things working as a team. There's a lot of fun to be had playing on your own, but with the support of a corporation, it makes this adventure kind of magical. Or horrible. Because you really need to be careful about who you trust, and there's already been reports of corporation heists going on. The big benefit to being in a corporation, though, is also that you have extra cores for buildings or ships that are designated as corporation property. You can also join up to 5 separate corporations per account. So you can do what I do and set up one for yourself, one for your closest friends, and then another one that may be open to larger community memberships. The controls you have for permissions in the game are complex but powerful, but you'll probably want to look up a guide on how to set things up for the first time. And finally, if you've seen all of this and you think Dual Universe may be right for you, the subscription model isn't too bad. For $20 US, you get 3 months of game time, which doesn't sound too bad for an MMO. That also means there's no box sales, so you can get your 3 months of game time and be good to go. The downside is, if your subscription lapses, there's no single players, so you're kind of out of luck until you re-up. And speaking of new subscriptions, make sure to use that referral code in the comments. Every little bit helps. And there you have it. Dual Universe is a game I'm enjoying getting to grips with. If you have any questions or comments, or experiences you'd like to share about your Dual Universe adventures, leave a comment below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe, or catch me live on Twitch. In the meantime, take care everybody, fly safe, and don't forget to slow down for atmospheric re-entry.